Welcome back to Giants Latest. We are talking all things New York Giants. Let's get into OTAs, and I want to focus on the defense today because it seems like the defense and some specific players have been the highlights of these OTAs so far. So, let's get into the top takeaways that have been happening so far throughout OTAs. So you have Dane Belton, who has had 2 turnovers so far. You also have Tyler Nubin, who's had 1. Micah McFadden has had 1. Javon Holland and Paulson Adebo have all had turnovers. Now, before anyone is like, who cares, it's OTAs. I get it, guys, but it's June. So this is what we're going to discuss. And I think it's also important to just make notes of things that happen and also see if we can kind of project what is going to happen in the future, right? Like, let's talk about expectations with this defensive team, knowing that you already have guys who have had multiple turnovers in only 5 days of practices. And again, I understand it's practice. I get it, okay? But we have to talk about this because when you have guys like, I want to start with Adebo and Javon Holland, who are both new to this team, they're learning a new scheme, and obviously, you know, it's going to be slow learning at times, right? But I love the fact that they have interceptions already because this is what Joe Schoen brought them in to do, right? Something that this Giants team really struggled with last year was interceptions. They had 1 until, I believe, week 11, and it happened during week 1, and no hate or shade to Darius Muasau who got that, but that, like anyone, I could have picked that off, and so could every single one of you. So, you know, it wasn't like an amazing play. Thank God he caught it because it was actually, you know, nice to get an interception, even though we couldn't do anything about it. But you know, something that this Giants defense really has to improve upon this year is the takeaways. Just, you know, that is what it is. I think they ended up with 4 on the whole season last year, which is insane. That's embarrassing. So this year we need to see more of that. And when you have guys, veterans like them who are coming in, I think that it's really important that those guys set the tone from day one, which I think they're doing in OTAs, that they are ball hawks. And when you look at the guys that Joe Schoen drafted, especially in the secondary, when you talk about those 2, you talk about Tyler Nubin and Dane Belton, Joe Schoen specifically said that the reason why he liked those guys is they're always around the ball and they're ball hawks. Tyler Nubin had 8 interceptions in college at Minnesota, and Dane Belton has been one of the only Giant players who have had multiple interceptions over the years that he has played with the Giants, and he's going into his 4th year. So he is a guy who, when he plays on defense, he's around the ball and he's able to get interceptions here and there. So I love that that is translating already. Now, obviously, it's practice. They have to do it in preseason. They have to do it in regular games. But I just like hearing that those guys are around the ball already and they're making plays. And, you know who we're not hearing is making plays is Tay Banks. I saw that Bobby O had a pass deflection or a pass breakup. So did Micah McFadden, I believe, and so did Cordell Flott. So we'll talk about Tay Banks on another day. Let's focus on the good things. So again, those turnovers, they're happening early, which we like to see. Let's see them continue on as the season goes. And that's something that really has to be an important part of this defense this year. They have to stop the run, and they have to force turnovers, and they have to get sacks. If the Giants defense can do those 3 things, there is no reason why we shouldn't be winning football games. Last year, the defense in the first, I think it was through the first 8 games, they had a 10% sack rate. And then, you know, obviously the offense can't keep up, and Dexter Lawrence gets injured and Bobby O gets injured, and it all goes downhill from there. But I have high expectations for this defense. I really do. And I think that it's fair to have that. Obviously, we know the schedule is tough, but if you're a Giants football player and you're in the building day in and day out, you're not looking at the schedule and saying, oh, we suck, we're never going to make this. You're looking at the schedule and saying, all right, we've got tough teams, but we're going to do whatever it takes to beat them. We're going to get to the quarterback. We're going to force turnovers. You know, we're going to force pass deflections. We're going to make plays. So I really think that the way that the defensive roster is constructed has been done really well. You've got guys in the secondary who are known for getting turnovers. You've got guys in the front 4 who are known for stopping the run, who are known for getting sacks. Put all of that together, we should have a really good defense this year, and I have high expectations for them. I have way higher expectations for the defense than I do for the offense, and I think that's fair. I really feel like the defense at least has proved to us, right? We saw it last year. We saw them get sacks. We didn't see them get takeaways, and we didn't see them stop the run, but we did see them hold teams like the Bengals to only 10 points until basically the end of the 4th quarter. So we've seen them do good things where The offense, on the other hand, has been a mess, a horrible, horrible mess for 2 years. So, I think it's easy to say, well, we look at this defense and we've got expectations, we've got higher expectations. So that's what I want to see from this defense. Let's see if they can keep it up, especially as the summer season and the official season starts. But I want to talk about the players that I think were actually going to get turnovers because, like I said, Dane Belton obviously has that reputation, but he's not really going to be a starter on this defense. Him and Cordell Flott are going to be more so in with the twos, and obviously I think we know what the starting defense is going to look like. So when we look at the secondary, Tay Banks, I have no expectations for getting turnovers because he never turns his head around. But I really have high expectations for the two veterans, Holland and Adebo and Tyler Nubin. Like, I really have high expectations for those guys, that those are the ones who should be forcing turnovers. I also feel like a guy like Dexter Lawrence, who sacks the crap and beats the crap out of people, is obviously going to get some forced fumbles. And I think Bobby O has also done a really nice job of that over the years. He's a really good tackler, and when you can bring guys down to the ground hard, you're going to force the ball out of their hands. So I think like when you look at all the players and you look at their strengths, I think it's easy to say, well, in theory, it's always in theory until we see it with our two eyes, they should be able to get turnovers, and that includes from all three layers of the field. So I'm excited about the defense. I think they're all capable of doing it with the exception of Tay Banks, but I think it's enough. I think when you've got all of those guys who have a history of forcing turnovers, whether it's fumbles, it's getting interceptions, it's getting pick sixes, blocked field goals, like any of those things when it comes to special teams, they're all capable of doing it. So we just need to see it in action. But I'm really excited about the defense. I think, they're always ahead of the offense, especially as the summer goes on. And I think we're kind of seeing that, right? With the fact that 4 defensive players have already gotten interceptions. Dane Belton has already had multiple. So, I think we're seeing that so far. And I just really want it to continue into the regular season. But let's talk about this week of OTAs because the media has access on Thursday. So they're not allowed to get any videos, which is unfortunate. And, obviously all the news that we get right now about the touchdowns and the turnovers and the plays and things like that are coming directly from the Giants. So one thing I noticed is that when they talk about the takeaways, they don't say who the quarterback is. So I don't know if it was on Jameis Winston or Tommy DeVito, Jackson Dart, or Russell Wilson. What I do know is that when it was Paulson Adebo or Javon Holland, it was likely that it was Russell Wilson because he's in with the ones the most often, right? But what we do know is that Dable also will throw in Jameis Winston and will throw in Jackson Dart with the ones. So that is one thing to look for when the media has access this week. They will tell it to us like it is, and they will say, that was a horrible throw from Russell Wilson, or Bobby O made an absolutely incredible play on the ball and was able to get a hands on it, So we're going to have a better insight into those specific plays. So that's what I'm looking forward to. So we're going to recap that on Friday, knowing that the media has access tomorrow on Thursday. So get excited about that because I think it's going to be good. I love when the media are in the building. They're also going to have, I believe it's the coordinators who are going to speak to the media. So we'll also have updates about what the coordinators have to say. And I'm also sure that Brian Dable will speak at some point too. So we'll see if we get any injury updates or any other highlights. You know how Dable is, but we'll see if we get any updates from him about what to look forward to. And there are, I believe, 2 more weeks of OTAs, and then it is mandatory mini camp, and then they get a break until training camp starts in July, which is going to be here before we know it. It's only about 6 weeks away, which is crazy. So a lot to look forward to, and I hope that everyone is enjoying the start to their summer so far. Stay tuned. More Giants content coming your way.